Hello, pattern readers. No, I cannot calm down today. We have the actual teaser trailer for The Wheel of Time Season 1, and I'm freaking out. It was amazing. You guys have all watched it like 50 times, right? I hope so. So I'm not going to include the whole trailer in this video. I don't want to try to work around a copyright claim. Make sure you've seen it. I'm giving you the link in the description. This will spoiler the whole trailer because I am going to go through frame by frame, talk about every detail that I can pick out in this trailer and my reaction to it. And I can't promise to keep this video book spoiler free either. I don't really recommend watching if you haven't read at least the first book. There might be some vague spoilers outside of that, unless you just don't plan to read the books and just watch the show. I will have a totally spoiler-free video coming out very soon that will go over everything you need to know for season 1. So subscribe and come back for that. First of all, before I do my breakdown, we now know that the first 3 episodes, 1, 2, and 3, will release on Friday, November 19th, and then weekly after that, so that the 8th and final episode of the season will come out on Friday, December 24th. I don't know how I'm going to manage to take in 3 episodes at once. It's going to be wild, but I am glad that we are getting weekly episodes after that. So now it's time. Make sure you've watched this gorgeous trailer. And now let's break it all down. We see Nynaeve standing behind Egwene, saying to her, "Be strong." And she has a gorgeous braid. Egwene smiles, so she looks like she was ready, but then she screams after Nynaeve pushes her. So I would say she wasn't prepared for that. We get an establishing shot of mountains and rivers, which looks like the 2 rivers. We have Emond's Field and the Wine Spring Inn. Inside the inn, it is busy, and we see Rand, Mat, and Perrin sharing a drink and a laugh. Egwene walks in, and her hair is braided. So this would be after that ritual of jumping off a cliff into the river and that whole bit. She seems to be wearing a special dress. Rand smiles at her. She looks beautiful. And then Nynaeve smiles too. We have figures on horseback galloping along a river in the mountains. There are for sure 5 figures, maybe more. There is sand, which might match this image of Moiraine in TV Guide. If I had to guess, I would say maybe Nynaeve is missing. Maybe she hasn't joined the group yet. And maybe Lan is off tracking. But there could be other figures that I can't make out here, or a little bit separate. There's this very curious image of a man with golden hair and tears in his eyes, pressing a ring to his lips and crying. Now, my first thought somehow was that this was Lews Therin, which was very surprising to me. We can see there are flames in front of him. That might have kind of called him to mind. Another idea that I saw was that this is one of the White Cloaks. He's definitely wearing white, but I wouldn't really know what would be going on with the ring in the context of his tears in that case. So the theory I've seen that I like the best is that this is Peter Franzen, who plays Karine Nagashi's warder. And what would make sense is that if his Aes Sedai is killed and he is mourning her, this is her ring. It fits with shots we've seen of the serpent ring. So he's wearing white because that is the color of mourning in this culture. And it would really, I think, fit with all the details we have. So that's my favorite theory, but what do you all think? Who is this man crying over a ring? We then see Egwene surfacing in a pool of water, and there are multiple colors of what look like paint swirling on the water, and they cover her face and clothing as she emerges and opens her eyes. In fact, there are 7 colors, and they seem to match the 7 Ajas, so that's very interesting. Now, she's definitely wearing the same outfit that she was wearing when Nynaeve pushed her off the cliff at the beginning. So it could very well be that this is part of that same ritual. And my guess would be it is a ritual for Egwene to become a wisdom apprentice. What would be really interesting, though, is if Aes Sedai colors had made it into a wisdom ritual. One other possibility is that this specific part, where she's coming out of the water and the 7 colors are there, is not literally part of the ritual the way jumping off the cliff and going down the river are, but could be part of a dream. And either way, I definitely think this image is foreshadowing, whether it's part of the dream or it isn't. And it's there to kind of hint at future connections and the Aes Sedai. The whole time we have had this Moiraine voiceover saying, "The wheel of time turns and ages come and pass, leaving memories that become legend." I just want to note the word memories was said over the man crying over the ring, and legend said over Egwene. The music changes and we see a city street, and when we zoom up and cut to a wider shot, we can see that it is Tar Valon, with the White Tower and Dragon Mount in the distance. I really love how this music is so tense. We have Moiraine entering the Winespring Inn, and she removes her hood, and we hear voiceover of her saying, "The power inside you." We then cut to an aerial shot of the river with Egwene in it. We get a close-up of her floating in it on her back. The Moiraine voiceover continues over the next few shots connected to Aes Sedai. All over the world, there are different names for it, but it's one thing, one power, and women who can touch it. We protect the world. We have a gorgeous view of the Hall of the Tower from behind the Amerlin seat. We can see the 7 Ajahs all seem to have 3 sitters represented. Reds to Siuan's left, and following around from there, we seem to have grays, yellows, blues, whites, browns. And then over to Siuan's right, which we can't see very well, are probably the greens. We can also see Lyanna Sedai as the Keeper of the Chronicles with her staff. There are 8 other Aes Sedai standing in the center before Siuan. Moiraine is in the middle and flanked by Liandrin and Alana. There are also 2 other greens and 3 other reds that we don't have names for. I just absolutely love the diversity of dress on display here and the architecture. This shot of Sophie Okonedo as Siuan looking like an absolute queen. I am in love with her look here. The hairstyle, the dress, the jewelry, and the chest tattoo. That was a surprise. And I'm sure it has some significance. I lean towards it being something of cultural significance for her from her upbringing in Tyr, rather than it being something connected to the Amerlin seat, because the symbology here doesn't really suggest Aes Sedai iconography to me.
By the way, I have not seen anyone else point out this detail. Do you see those very subtle stripes on the collar of her dress? Yes, there look to be 7, and yes, they look to be the Ajah colors. I think they have incorporated that into this outfit in lieu of the Amerlin stole. I'm in love with this detail. It remains to be seen whether we will see an actual stole on her on some occasions or whether they have gone a different direction with the costuming, but I think it's gorgeous and so subtle. What do you think?
We see a green sister healing Moiraine, and that looks to be Kareen. We get a nice shot of her ring, and I think there is a green stone underneath the Great Serpent, so I think we are getting rings that match the Ajahs. Also, the flows of the power look awesome. This is just the first tiny glimpse of it. There's more, because we immediately cut to a wide shot of Moiraine channeling in the middle of Emond's Field on fire. We see a shot of 4 red sisters, with Kate Fleetwood as Liandrin in the center. Her expression and hairstyle are really on point. One of the sisters next to her was definitely in the background of the EW picture, and the other looks unfamiliar. We get a very quick shot of Jennifer Chion Garcia as Lyanna, looking fierce and pounding her staff. This next shot is the most intriguing so far. We are behind Alana, and yes, there are 3 warders, including probably the ones we know are hers, but there is Nynaeve, with a familiar braid and green coat. In the next shot, we see Alana head on, and she is channeling. Also, I'm even more in love with her hairstyle and outfit than I was in the EW shot. We see arrows coming toward them, and then in an aerial shot, we see Alana stop the arrows. And then we can see that Lan is there, standing protectively in front of Nynaeve. We see 3 red sisters, 2 other green sisters, and 6 more warders aside from Lan. I'm guessing that Moiraine has been hurt, and that is why she is not in this shot. This is probably when Kareen is healing her or around that time. We really can't see who is doing the attacking here, who's shooting these arrows. And there were a couple of possibilities that kind of floated through my mind, like white cloaks. But from some shots later in the trailer, I would say it's more likely that what we're looking at here are followers of Logain that are attacking the Aes Sedai camp when Logain has been captured. We know from an audition script leak that the Aes Sedai do capture Logain at some point, and that it seems like Moiraine and Lan and Nynaeve would catch up with them after they'd captured him. So I'm pretty sure Logain is a captive at this point, and this is probably his followers attempting to break him free. But what do you guys think about who this attack is coming from? We get another gorgeous shot of Tar Valon with walls and a bridge and the river surrounding it. We cut to 2 people on a mountainside on what looks to be overlooking Tar Valon. And as we get closer, it seems like it is Rand and Mat. Although I can't be sure that it is Mat, it definitely is Rand, and it would fit in with the 2 of them being together as we know they are at some point. We see Rand preparing to shoot an arrow. Then we cut to Matt holding the ruby-hilted dagger in Shadar Logoth. I love the way the ruby looks, with a little light shining through. Shadar Logoth scenes are incredibly creepy. We see a shadow falling. Egwene is running out of the building as the shadow is still falling. I'm curious about that shadow. This is fitting for the name of Shadar Logoth, Shadows Waiting, but it isn't something we know to be associated with Mashadar. We get this shot of Matt, who sees a dead body displayed in a cage. And I wondered if this could be White Cloak work, or perhaps it could be the dragon sworn following Logain. I really am not sure here. I'm very curious for other ideas on what people think is going on here. I've mentioned some people saying this person who's in here looks like they might be Aiel. I think it's really hard to say, but we didn't really get any other Aiel in this trailer. Then we see Perrin confronting a snarling wolf. So that was really awesome to see, just that little glimpse of Perrin's reaction. Then we see Rand and Egwene in what looks to be a very intimate and unclothed moment. At first she is smiling and then she turns her face away. My guess, based on the chandeliers we can see, is that this is part of the Winespring Inn, though it's amazing to me they could have gotten a private moment there. So this would have to be the very first episode, in which case sexual intimacy would already be a part of their relationship from the beginning, and that would certainly be a huge change. I would have been less surprised if that is something that had developed after they left the Two Rivers, although it might be hard to find an opportunity for that, maybe in Faldara. So I could be wrong about where this is. What do you think? Is this the Winespring, meaning this scene is in the first episode? I love how this is right after we see Matt and Perrin both facing frightening things, and apparently what Rand has to face is Egwene, or more accurately, heartbreak, as the voiceover says. No matter what happens, what pain we face, and heartbreak, the wheel keeps turning. There's another shot of Perrin and Matt in Shadar Logoth, and then Tam. So it's revealed that he's the male character who's been doing that voiceover about heartbreak and pain. He looks sad, and I love it. We see a shot of a dance circle at what is probably Beltane, and then that cuts to a shot of Aes Sedai standing among what looks to be corpses. There are a lot of them, at least 33, and I'm guessing about 2 more out of frame. There is snow on the ground. I wonder if these could be Aes Sedai and warders and soldiers killed by Logain's followers. There definitely are some red and green sisters here, and I think there are Moiraine, Lan, and Nynaeve. So I think it really does fit in with this overall theory I'm building here about an attack on the Aes Sedai camp when they've captured Logain. Then we cut to an aerial view of the Hall of the Sitters. I love how this is 3 circular images, one after another, all suggesting a wheel. We then see a dark, hooded figure pulling a knife on Lan, and he says, "The Dark One is coming for your friends." So this must be Nynaeve, and she has probably tracked him in the woods. Either this is the first time she catches up to anyone after leaving the Two Rivers, or else this is after they are separated at Shadar Logoth and she finds him again. I'm guessing the former, though I would be a little disappointed if Nynaeve doesn't leave with them at first. We see a shot of the Trolloc attack in Emond's Field, and Rand and Matt are there, so this does suggest to me that we won't see the Althor farm that night. Rand doesn't appear to have Tam's sword in this shot as he runs. This is actually our first shot of a fade, but it's hard to see. Just wait. We then see men attacking in a wooded area. We see Lan cross weapons with one. This makes me, again, think more strongly that Logain's followers attack an Aes Sedai camp after Logain has been captured and attempt to free him. We get this intense close-up on Logain, and then he appears to be channeling from within his cage as Aes Sedai look on, probably trying to hold him. This could be when Aes Sedai and warders and others are killed. As we see, Aes Sedai are being blown into the air. We then cut to Nynaeve looking terrified, and she is wearing that same green coat. I think this is during the same attack. We see Moiraine entering the Hall of the Tower, and Aes Sedai turn to see her. We then hear Swan telling someone, I'm guessing Moiraine, the last battle is coming. She looks serious, but more like she is speaking intimately and her guard is down, which makes me think Moiraine. She also says the only thing that matters is what you do. So that would make sense for her to say to Moiraine, she alone would know about Moraine's mission to find the Dragon Reborn. We see a shot of Trollocs, then Moiraine galloping through woods on her horse, Lan looking up from the ground as if he has been tracking. We see a bunch of men racing an attack. I'm guessing Logain's followers again. We see Nynaeve and Egwene defending themselves during the Trolloc attack in Emond's Field. I'm pretty sure this warder leaping towards someone with 2 axes is Peter Franzen, who again plays Kareen's warder Steppen. which means the person who has weaves of power around them that he is attacking is probably Loghain. And that fits in very well with an Instagram interaction Alvaro Morte had with Peter, where Peter commented that he had previously swung an axe at Alvaro's talented head.
The Aes Sedai looking on seems to be Moiraine, and there looks like another Aes Sedai who is on the ground, and that is most likely Kareen, who has been killed, which explains why Stepan is in a rage.
We then see Lan fighting like a badass, taking on at least 3 Trollocs among flows of the power. We then smash to black, just for you, Dusty Wheel, and then we hear Moiraine say, "Whatever happens now, there's no turning back." We see 4 figures on horseback riding to join Moiraine, and there's at least 2 others near the Waygate, which is indeed in the middle of a field and looks exactly like we've seen it before. So this must be wherever they are first entering the ways. We know Loial will be there. None of the figures really looked like him to me, but it is possible that he's standing very close to a horse in the distance and might be kind of obscured. I'm guessing Perrin and Egwene are already near Moiraine, and Lan is riding up with Nynaeve and Rand and Mat. We then get a horrifying glimpse of a Fade approaching the wine spring, and this nightmare-inducing shot of its face and scream, oh my god. We see more Trollocs, more flames in Emond's Field, Lan fighting and looking scared, so I'm guessing that is when he sees the Fade. We then get this glorious shot of Moiraine channeling. We can see how she and Lan work together. It's awesome. We can finally see that the channeling she was doing in that teaser is to draw lightning, so the flashes of light make sense. And then we go to the Wheel of Time logo and the release date.
After all that, did you still want more? Well, lucky us, because Rafe Judkins did confirm that there will be a second and longer trailer between now and the release date.
Phew. Even though I just went through all of that, I feel like there is even more to take in. And I can't end this without doing some theorizing. First of all, just based on the amount of shots we see of Tar Valon, and some of the shots in particular, I'm going to say that it looks like our main group does end up in Tar Valon. And then I'm going to say they're going to end up there instead of Caemlyn, and that we will not see Caemlyn in season 1 at all. There had been theories out there suggesting this, and I had not entirely bought into that. I thought we might still see Caemlyn, even if I was pretty sure we were not going to see palace scenes. But I do change my mind after seeing this. I think it is Tar Valon, no Caemlyn. That has some implications for later seasons, so I want to get into that a little bit. So if you don't want book spoilers past The Eye of the World, I would skip ahead a little bit. I'll put a timestamp up here for you. You can skip ahead past this little theorizing section that I'm doing. Now, let's keep going. What are some of the implications? I think part of what had held me on to the idea of Caemlyn being in there was Basil Gill. We know we see Basil Gill, and to me, he is just absolutely linked to Caemlyn in my mind. So to me, what this suggests is the whole later plot that happens, where Basil Gill helps Morghese escape Caemlyn, that won't happen at all. You've taken away the one thing that he is known for, which is Caemlyn and supporting Morghese. So he must just be sort of a cameo. They knew they weren't going to do that, and we kind of like Basil Gill, so let's throw him a cameo. So that's my prediction. We're not going to see much, if any, of Morghese's storyline in the entire series. I'm curious what you think about that. I always knew that was a possibility. It's something that definitely can be cut. I assumed it would at least be trimmed down, but not necessarily cut entirely. And now I kind of think she might not be a character at all. We might just not get Morghese at all. Do you like that idea? Does it bother you at all? Do you think I'm right? I mean, I feel very confident about this. If we don't go to Caemlyn in season 1 and Basil Gill is given like a cameo in some other random location, that has, I think, huge implications for Morghese's storyline, and it probably just won't happen. I mean, I guess it could happen without Basil Gill, but that's my prediction. The other thing, of course, is that we're delaying meeting certain characters who we initially meet in Caemlyn to probably the second season. And we pretty much already knew this, so I think we're going to meet Elaine and Galad and Gowan. I'm guessing we're going to meet those 3 when they're already in the White Tower in season 2. Same thing with Elida. I think we'll meet her there in season 2. And Loial, obviously, we are meeting in season 1, and he could easily be in Tar Valon instead, and staying in Tar Valon. He would want to see the Grove there. So that's probably the most obvious way that we would meet him there instead. As I'm sitting here putting all these pieces together and theorizing, I'm realizing how much more there really is to say about this, and how the whole season is starting to take a slightly different shape in my mind after watching this. So there's a lot more I can say, and I think I'm going to save it and fold a lot of it into a series I've been doing, breaking down what I think is going to happen in each episode and how the whole overall season is going to take shape. And I'm going to do one coming up where I talk about how I think the season will end and give updated predictions for the various episodes. So stay tuned for that. And that's where I'm going to bring in a lot more trailer analysis.
I've got to end with just some emotional reaction to this trailer. So I'm highlighting just a few shots that to me really made me the happiest watching this, and especially watching it multiple times and reflecting on it, because these are the moments that showed me that these characters are right. These are the characters I love, and they have gotten them right.
I really wanted to be surprised by some things that were in this teaser trailer, and that it absolutely delivered on that score. There were moments where I screamed out loud. What were those moments for you? Like, what were the big standout moments, the things that you're going to remember from this teaser trailer? And what were your emotional reactions? Really curious to hear, and especially whether you're someone that's really been following and anticipating this, or whether you kind of came into it really with no expectations and very blind. I'd love to hear what your reactions were. So please leave me some comments and like and share the video. Definitely be a subscriber. As you can tell, there's a ton of really exciting stuff coming up over the next couple of months. And as I like to say, until next time, gird your loins, my friends.